like there was CIA influence on left-wing intellectuals. There was CIA influence on all intellectuals. CIA was all over the universities.
Absolutely.
And actually, we should expect that. I've actually found interesting that no one's talking about CIA influence within the movements. They're just talking about the intellectuals, partly because it's harder to know unless you're just willing to dig into COINTEL profiles.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting about this whole period is while it seems to be critical of intellectuals, it makes intellectuals the driving force of history. And this is true for a lot of tendencies.
That would be formally anathema in terms of the way how we conceive of things. But it would actually be quite in line with the realities of how we conduct ourselves and how we perceive of things.
Right. I mean, any sense, and I know this word is abused, both on left and right, we tend to have idealist tendencies, thinking the ideas come first and they're not in feedback with a complicated set of relations.
Yeah.
That show up in both the base and the superstructure, to use a metaphor I don't even like because people misunderstand it.
But that's just true of everything.
Yeah. So to get to the book, no, I'm chastising myself, not you, Jason. To get to the book, I want to talk about a few things with Dugin as we wrap this up. This is our penultimate episode on Dugin. The next episode will be probably the appendices and our overall reflections of the experience of going through this book, and some chapters almost line by line. And what I find interesting about this is the only thing I do that gets a lot of like weird right-wingers like to watch the channel. It's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people really want to understand and grapple with Dugin, and I think that very few people actually want to do the work to do this, or maybe they're doing it and they need help, or they want to check their ideas against other people's, because to be frank, sometimes it's not entirely clear.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
And
to be completely on, although I love when Dugin called Lukács a neo-Marxist, as if Lukács wasn't like around, simultaneously to the early Soviet Union.
As if Lukács wasn't a member of the Communist Party in Hungary, wasn't a part of the Hungarian
government.
Yeah, it's like, the dude was he was a communist, and thus he was a Marxist.
Right.
Like those words are used consistently.
Right. I only refer to neo-Marxists to people, and I don't really refer to them that way, but the people who are solely academic in their Marxism.
Like,
and even then, I think it's because it's neo-Marxist, post-Marxist, or sectarian Marxist, right? But because we all live at the advent of of the collapse of traditional Marxism, which really happened in the 1970s. Which I know that's going to piss a bunch of people off, but it's just kind of fundamentally true.
I would even just say, if you want to pick some really easy dates, you could just say the end of the Cold War, which is really, really generous. But let's say the end of the Cold War also means the end of, that's when you start to be neo-Marxism, whatever.
Right.
When you start writing books like Heideggerian's books, or
I consider that just straight up post-Marxist, to be completely honest. Laclau for post-Marxist. And
I guess that's right.
Whereas I consider I would even say David Harvey is a neo-Marxist, because a lot of these people don't believe in any of the versions of labor theory of value. They're marginalists.
Okay, that's fair.
Or and I would even call the analytical Marxist, and maybe even the political Marxist, neo-Marxist, but I wouldn't call Lukács a neo-Marxist. In fact, he's kind of the inventor of philosophical Marxism.
Yeah, he is.
It's him and Porsche.
And Lukács is the big name. If you are like a casual student of Marxism and you're like, oh, the Hegelian Marxists, what are those? What's that all about? It's like, well, the very first name you're going to come across is Lukács.
Yeah, and good luck saying that Lukács was created by the CIA. Anyway,
yeah.
Unless they're time traveling weirdos.
And on that note,
let's talk about the gender and the fourth political theory, because it makes about as much sense as time traveling weirdos.
Yes, this is actually the most. This is the weirdest.
That shit.
Yes, that's right. Like, if we started off this book with me saying like, "Oh, I'm sympathetic a little bit, and I can see here and there," like, I'll be very generous and benefit the doubt and so on. By this chapter, I don't think I'm going to say that very much.
Yeah. I'm just going to read two full paragraphs and I'll start summarizing. So you guys don't worry. We're not doing line by line anymore because we want to finish this eventually. We have lots of digressions that we do. Jason, people were complaining about our digressions on the Decadence podcast. And you know what I say to that? Find a different podcast.
The digressions on those are my favorite. That's the best time.
They're like, oh, you didn't talk about anything for the first 20 minutes. I'm like, no, we talked about everything else. I don't know what your problem is. Sure, it's self-indulgent, but I actually, funnily enough, I found that on that episode we stayed on topic more than whatever, because I took outline notes for the entire series of the off section. But anyway, enough meta commentary on my audience.
Not just your audience, we get some of that too, but we usually don't say much about it. Part of that's because whatever.
You're not as willing to be antagonistic to your patrons as me. Actually, it is interesting. The commentary and complaints change dramatically depending on the format at which people are engaging. But anyway, so I get complaints on all formats, but they're different. But back to this gender. I'll read 3 whole paragraphs, which unfortunately is most of the chapter, because also these chapters are like fugues. I feel like I'm reading a Bung Chul Han book all of a sudden. The 3 political theories of modernity all ask the same question: who is a political person and what is the political gender? At first, the person is man. From the sociological point of view, women becomes persons only recently, and this raises a question of women's political rights. From the viewpoint of modernity, woman is not a person. A person can only be a man. However, not every man, only a special type of man. The characteristics of the real man includes wealth. Until the end of the 19th century in Europe, property was a necessary attribute of citizenship, i.e. political gender. Rationality, thrift, living in a city. The peasant was not considered an equal in social political significance. Thus, in the elections to the first Duma in Russia in 1905, the voice of one townsperson was equal to 100 peasant voices. I find it interesting how much he assumes about modernity from Western media predictions of Western history and Russia.
Yeah, like from the not modern or the semi-modern state of Russia at the time. Yeah, and
then from like what CNN was saying in 2005. So like, it's kind of weird. The voice of one's town person was equal to 100 peasant voices. In modernity, a peasant is not quite a person. I mean, it is true also in modernity, as peasant is not quite a person, except the peasant has also been, frankly, the main political actor of revolutionary modernity, particularly after the 1930s. And what did the peasant do? Abolish themselves.
Yeah.
I'm just, like,
I think like one thing here is that when we say here, if we say in modernity, then I would say there's lots to quibble with. If we wanted to say in bourgeois terms, in modernity, then maybe there's a little bit more
And post-capitalist society from the 16th century forward, I mean, there is some things in which classical conceptions of a person do matter here, because that actually is like notions of citizenship come from that.
Yeah.
Hence property, hence weighting of voices. Like that's all. Like if you go into like ancient Roman class structures, like where the proletariat comes from. A proletariat is a person who can only give to the state their children to fight for the army. That's the like Roman definition.
Yeah.
Because they have no property or wealth. Anyway, but they're not slaves. The voice of one other characteristics of being a man include maturity and age. Those socio-professional and age categories indeed included the concept of gender and gender functions. The last characteristic of a man is that it must belong to a European civilization and have white skin. I love how selectively and evilly woke Dugin can be 1 minute to make completely anti-woke points. It's actually kind of like a brilliant inversion of the problems of some of these identity political categories. When considerations of a cultural superiority and racism are taken together, this political man, or l'homme politique, from the anthropological point of view, such gender tenets are an axis for all three major ideologies of modernity and their derivations. However, within these ideologies are the differences in relation to this figure of man. The most male-forming theory is liberalism, as it considers the figure of the rational, witch, adult, white male as a norm and natural phenomenon. Now, I find this interesting because it seems to me like modern liberalism completely inverts this, but it's like a shadow inversion of the original thing. And I would say like one of the interesting functions of like radical liberalism is that it agrees with this figure that the main actor of modernity is male, but it's because of marginalization and oppression.
Right. Like that this is true, but we don't like it.
Right. Yeah. Not that this isn't true.
Right.
I mean, there are some people who come out of that.
Never been true.
Right. There are some people who come out of this radical liberal tradition who do get to that point. I don't want to disparage the whole thing. I don't want to be like dishonest in my criticisms here. But it is just interesting to me because it is also true that in early liberalism, the worldview is particularly male because factory work is separate from domestic work and social reproduction is separate from the reproduction of economic means in a way that it is not in a peasant village or a farmstead or whatever.
Right. And the thing is, I think if you were to just take these categories at their face value and you were to look and to really examine the condition of women during the Jacobin years at the kind of the dawn of liberal modernity, it's pretty clear actually that citizens and that is to say men are the ones who matter. They're the ones who factor in various ways. Like it is true, but also it's actually not true at all.
Right. Liberalism canonizes this conception of gender and standardizes it, trying to eternalize bourgeois social systems typical of the 18th and 19th century Europe. Liberalism asserts the factuality of this gender and projects it onto the future. The modern world is constructed by man, conceived and anticipated by men, and will belong to men. Homo economicus and homo faber, which would be the economic man and faber.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Man, my Latin is fading.
I'm gonna look it up.
It means man the maker or man the constructor. Okay. Such understanding of gender, such understanding of gender is an undergoing changes with time. Although homo economicus would also mean something different in the ancient world because the oikos was the household.
Yeah.
Although the household was full of slaves, so I don't know. Make of that what you will. The area of gender that is men increases. The standard archetype begins to include peasants, the poor, women, and then non-white races. How does this mechanism apply to the case of women? For women, manly characteristics start to be attributed to them. A businesswoman is one who manifests male qualities. White females become citizens. Thus, the woman starts to be the thought of the man. So liberal feminism, or the aspiration to give women freedom, means to identify a woman as a man and thus to equalize them socio-politically, that is, to represent a woman as a man socially. The same procedure is applied to the rural peasant as to the urban city dweller. Bullshit. The rural peasant stops having an economic function. It's not a social function. It goes away. You only need 2% of the population engaged in agricultural labor in modern industrial societies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say bullshit outright on that one. Also, there's not a willingness to look at how historically constructed specific pre-bourgeois notions of feminism are female virtues or values are, and how variant they are, even in early modernity.
Right. This does take bourgeois conceptions and then trans-historicizes them.
Right. While also historicizing them, but selectively.
Yeah.
The same procedure is applied to the rich peasant as the urban city dweller, and non-white races as right, as poor as rich, the stupid as reasoning. So what Dugin's trying to do is almost a medieval thing of these categories are eternal. They're each valuable. We shouldn't hierarchize them in worth. But they are our problems are just because we conceive them as unvaluable in liberalism, but they are essentially different and they can't do these other things. So a woman who sits behind the wheel of a car is a man or a character of a man. However, under liberalism, the divisions of social conceptions of gender remain. I was about to make a really mean joke about women sitting behind the wheel of a car, but I'm going to shut up. And if people who don't get my joke, you can figure it out. It's mean-spirited, and it's even mean-spirited for me, so I'm not going to do that. However,
that's a special tier in the Patreon.
Yeah. However, under liberalism, the divisions of social conceptions of gender remain. Women may acquire the same technical rights as men, and thus in performing functions of a man may be considered equal to men, but the social construction of men and the man and the woman is unchanged. It's changed, although I do think, I would, if I was going to do the rational kernel of what Dugin is saying here, women are often recognized in positions traditionally associated with men in bourgeois societies by manifesting traditionally male traits. So in most states, not all, Scheinbaum is an example in Mexico, but in most states, the first female leader will be a reactionary. Margaret Thatcher is more common than Scheinbaum.
Yeah,
I think that's a historical phenomenon.
And that's regardless of the formal nature of the state itself.
Yeah. It is also true that it also tends to run true for people of color, although they tend to be more centrist in orientation when they actually become leaders in. And I'm not just thinking about Obama. There's many. I'm thinking about Benito Juarez in Mexico. I'm thinking about, the indigenous person who also basically did more to end indigenous autonomy in Mexico than anybody else. I'm thinking about, in some ways, I'm thinking about Stalin because he was a minority in the Russian Empire.
I guess he was.
Yeah, I mean, people always think about
Evo Morales seems to be the outlier there.
Yeah. Stalin's debatable, but Stalin was the center of Bolshevik tendencies, no matter how you choice it.
Adjusted to his scale, then yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which that's also going to probably make a bunch of people mad at me, as I said Stalin was a Marxist centrist.
I mean,
but anyway,
he was actually he was known as the outstanding mediocrity in the party. Like, not mediocrity as an insult, but like
he was the mediating factor. He split the middle. Like,
exactly. That's not my term. That's just historical.